All right, performing the rendezvous. Now, if you're at this point, you should have performed your NCC1, not MCC, NCC1, NCC2, and NSR SPS burns. These will put you on an orbit extremely similar to the rendezvous target in Apollo 7, the S4B. And at this point, we're going to want to begin our calculations for terminal phase initiation. The reason I didn't go through the 3 SPS burns as part of this rendezvous video is simply because they're just SPS burns, and I already have a tutorial on that. So at this point in time, you're going to want to make a save. Save your current state, whatever. And the reason is because later on, we're going to get a pad from mission control. If your delta V's are right on the money, are pretty close to what that pad says, but the timing is off, you have a bad state vector. And while the rendezvous is still doable, I've tested it myself, it's still doable. You'll be expending a little bit more RCS because you'll be initiating the burn later. So to simply remedy that issue, we are going to right now get ourselves a new state vector. And here we go. Okay, state vector update is complete. I also realized that my headphones aren't on high quality mode, so the microphone might sound bad. So I'm going to pause a second and fix that real quick. Okay, I believe this has remedied the issue. Absolutely. All right, let's get on with it now. Bring my mic level down a bit. It's sort of hitting that red zone. There we go. So what we're going to want to do is verb 37, enter, 20, enter. And you're going to get a request for auto maneuver. So make sure you're in CMC auto at this time and proceed. Now the computer is going to begin changing the attitude for the proper alignment for the CSM tracking. So we'll time skip this ahead a little bit. Almost in attitude. All right. And we can go orbit rate on this one. And once we're in attitude, we can hit enter, and it's going to calculate a final tracking attitude. Now hit proceed again. Time skip a little bit. And here we go. Once it's zeroed out, as soon as we hit enter, it will begin tracking the CSM automatically. Now we can come downstairs, zero switch off, CMC, and come into the optics. Verb 37, enter, 34, enter. Now, program 34 will be running on top of program 20. So the computer is going to be getting very slow. Hit enter at this maneuver request. Verb 25, enter. And we're going to make our guess for rendezvous. And for Apollo 7, this guess is going to be 00029 plus 00023 and 00000. So verb 25 plus 00029 plus 00023 plus 00000. Once that's in, hit proceed. Now we're going to take our elevation angle and our omega at, and we're going to put those in. So verb 22, enter, plus 02745, enter. Again, this applies only to Apollo 7. Verb 23, enter, plus 14000, enter. And proceed. At this point, you get the 1645, and we can now begin our first marks. Verb 57, enter. And now this is very, very important. You do not want to mess these up. You need to mark exactly on the S4B, which is at the pretty much center of this yellow target. But see this, it's very dim. You might not be able to see it on YouTube. If you have a display, you're probably going to want to brighten it up for this. You're also going to want to get some sort of timer going on your phone. You could set a timer on the spacecraft. However, in this view, you can't see the timer. So you're going to want to get some sort of timer, some sort of stopwatch is what it's called, because every mark, except for the first and second, need to be taken 1 minute apart from each other. So once you've keyed verb 57 and you verify that you can see the target, go manual, speed low, and take your first mark. Again, you have to line up with it perfectly. Mark. The first mark is in, and it's going to take no error calculation. From there, right after you key the mark, start your timer. So next mark, mark, and the clock start. Once your second mark is in, you're going to wait for flashing 06 now and 49. Here we go. And here is our error calculation. If this number is really high at this point in time, you have a bad S4B state vector, and you're going to want to load that in. If it's not, and it's like this, proceed ahead. And now we just need to wait another minute. So once our timer here hits 60 seconds, we'll make another mark. Three, two, one. Here we go. Center. Mark. And we take a peek at our timer. We can see we made that mark at 1 minute, 9 seconds. So the next mark will be done at 2 minutes, 9 seconds. Here, very low error. Proceed on that. So that's our third mark. And once again, we'll get the 0649 after each mark from now on. Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Mark is in. A little bit of error on this one, but that's okay. When it starts to move out, you can either go speed medium or you can go to CMC and see how your marks have been doing so far. As you can see, the auto acquire is good, so our marks have been pretty good so far. And if it does help, you can also get rid of the overlay so that you just see the dot. I like to have the overlay up though. Mark. See a little bit of error. Okay, ready to mark again. Mark. Good. Mark. That one was right on the money. That was a good mark. Again, the computer is going to be very slow at this point since we're running a few major programs. So if the proceed key ever just is kind of not working, just click it again and it should work. Mark. See this one? Verb 32. And we'll take that mark again. Wait for the anti-setters to kick in. There we go. That's our 8th mark. Here comes our 9th. Mark. There we go. Coming in for number 10. Mark. Okay, after the last mark, hit proceed. As we can see, we only took 9 marks, but that's okay. On 0649, hit proceed on that. And once this ticks up to 9, we'll just take one more mark. So verb 57, enter. Wait for the anti-setter. Yeah, it looks like we're not going to get one for a while. It's okay. We'll make the mark then. Mark. And now we can hit proceed. That mark will be processing. We'll get the 0649 on that. There we go. Proceed. And we're up to 10 now. Now at this point, verb 32, enter. And we're going to recycle the program. And now we can reset our stopwatch. That has been keeping our mark cadence for us. And I'll sort of just fast forward through this TIG calculation. Here we go, 29, 27, 20.31. Proceed. And this will be the delta V computation. Here we go, 17.5 and 17.2. 17.5 is our terminal phase initiation, and 17.2 is our terminal phase final. First row shows the predicted periapsis after the burn. Proceed. So our delta V's at line of sight. Proceed. And the timer. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Counting down. There we go. Once that's done, go back to CMC, and we'll bring her down to 48 minutes. So I'll be back once we're at 48. Okay, coming up on that 48 minutes now. At this point, we can perform our ordeal initialization. So verb 82, enter. Grab your calculator. Proceed. And we might have to wait for a bit. As I said, the computer is a little slow since we're running several major programs right now. So we've got a 160.9 plus 114.8 divided by 2. And we got 137.85, so we'll set that in. Looks good. Proceed. Verb 83, enter. And we'll just time skip past this one. There we go, 42.75. So 30, 40, very close. We'll go slow. And we'll bring it up just a couple degrees. Looks pretty good. Proceed. And now we're going to bring it down to 40 minutes. Okay, we're down to the 40-minute mark. Now at this point, it is extremely important that the marks from now on are perfect because we're pretty close now. So that S4B should be bright. And if these marks are bad, it's bad. Verb 57, enter. Get your clock up again. Go manual. And take your first mark. There we go. Mark. And wait a couple seconds. We can see the S4B is very slow. This is good. Take our second mark and start the clock. Mark. Wait for that mark to come in. Here it is. And we definitely know that those marks are good, so we'll proceed on that. In between each mark sequence, your first few marks may have significantly bigger error, but it should steady itself out after just a few marks, and we call this converging. So the anti-setter's kicked in, and let's take our next mark. That's our third mark. And we'll wait for the, here we go, and we could see very low error now. And that's called converging. It's coming up on the next mark. Here's our terminal phase initiate, delta V. Mark. That's our fourth mark. Proceed. Yep, so this is what you're going to want to look at. If you get a time difference that's big, you need a new state vector and you'll probably have to reload. If you get a delta V difference that's big, then your marks are bad and you're going to need to reload. Excuse me, a bit of a cough today. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, center mark. There's our 5th and last mark, and it's in. Proceed. And now we'll proceed to accept the mark sequence. And proceed. Mark sequence is processed. Now we'll do verb 32, enter, and we'll get our new time of ignition, and this is what we're going to compare with the pad. 29, 22, 48.19 seconds. We could see we're like 40 seconds off of this, but it's not critically bad. Let's take a look at our delta V. Here's our delta V. Or sorry, yep, delta V 17.1 here. And we get 16.6, so that's not bad. Proceed. So our marks are good, but our state vector might be a little bad. 40 seconds is not terrible, though. It's definitely doable. Proceed, and let's start the clock. We can see we're a little behind now, but that should be okay. Here's our last marking sequence, verb 57, enter. Here comes our first mark. Mark. Here comes the second mark. Mark, start the clock. Let's get our error calculation. It's good. Proceed. We'll be standing by for that third mark now. Again, remember, it's got to be every single minute. Here we go. Mark. Right at the anti-setter. That was good luck right there. Once that mark is in, we're going to reset our W matrix. Proceed on this. And now key verb 9-3, enter. Here comes the fourth mark. Another 20 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's take the mark, which is a little bit difficult. There we go. There's our fourth mark in. Now we're going to wait for our fifth mark. And in this mark sequence, we're also taking just 8 marks. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. There's our fifth mark. Proceed. Okay, coming up on the sixth mark now. Mark. Proceed. 2 more marks. Coming up on the seventh mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Proceed. And our eighth and last mark is coming up very shortly. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and line anti-setter. Mark. And we can see it's converged down to 1s. That's great. Proceed. And we'll accept mark sequence. Proceed. Now we're going to wait for the last pass, so we're just going to bring it down to 17. We can reset our timer. Here we go, down to 17. Proceed, and we'll initiate last pass. Time skip past the time of ignition calculation. 29, 21, 31. We can see it's happening a little bit earlier. Always around 40 seconds off. Proceed. Delta V computation. Take that second row and insert it into the EMS. 16.9 and 8 right there. Delta V and proceed. Here's our delta V at local vertical. Proceed. Delta V at line of sight. Proceed. And the timer. We get CMC going on that. 14. 13. Oops. It's close enough. Now we'll bring her down to 11 minutes. Proceed. 41. Enter. Now we're going to go CMC mode free. We're going to come up to the COAS.
Translation.
We're going to rotate down. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to compare our verb 83 information. And we'll establish a go, no go for the pings, or if we're going to burn impulsively. So we can see we're pretty much lined up on that. Verb 83, enter. We can see that third row is our theta 8. Theta at 8 minutes. So once we get down to 8 minutes, we'll record that. And at 5 minutes, we're going to record the range. And then at 5 minutes again, we'll record the range dot, or R dot, which is the range rate. So we can see we're 249 nautical miles out, and we are closing, hence the minus. And this is our current theta angle. Here's our theta at 8. Here, bring her down to close to 5, recenter. It's 5 minutes. There's our range. There's our range rate. And I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. So we'll hit proceed. And we'll bring her down to 4 minutes. At 4 minutes, CMC auto, and proceed. And now we're going to align to the burn attitude. Proceed again, just make sure that we're pretty aligned. Minimum, low. There we go. And enter. And this will bring up our burn. We'll get the direct on, translation on, and go translation. And now we'll bring this down to around 35 seconds. So I'll be back with you then. Okay, we're back at the 35-second mark with Disky Blank. 30 seconds. EMS mode normal. Ensure you're on translation. And at this point, the counters will start adjusting for our attitude and our state vector and everything. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Here we go. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cut off. And now all we need to do is just null the residuals. So we need to come forward a little more. A little bit overburnt there. Aft. And now we need to come right by 0.2. And aft a little. And now down. A little bit forward. And this is pretty much as close as you can get it. So if you can get it to here, and everything's looking pretty stable, that's great. Standby off, translation off, go rotation. Direct off, rate 2. Proceed. And now we're going to punch in 3, 5, enter. And this is terminal phase mid-course computation program. 3, 4 was terminal phase initiation computation program. Here's terminal mid-course computation. We're just waiting for this to load up. Okay, program 35 is loaded. Here's our new attitude. Proceed. And we get our auto maneuver. Hitting enter here will begin auto tracking. Auto tracking initiate. Now, at this point in time, you're going to want to come under here and sync a timer because you'll need to know your elapsed time. However, you can do this after your mark sequence, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to sync a timer after our mark sequence. That gives us a little more time to do our marks and a little bit stress-free. So come in. We can see we're a little bit off from the S4B now because of that burn. Verb 57, enter. And now we're going to do what's called a phony mark. And this is going to be used to sort of update our CSM state vector. So we'll come down. We'll take the phony mark. Yeah, terminal mid-course can have this thing moving around quite significantly. So you'll just have to be patient. Take your mark. And now hit proceed. And wait for the mark sequence to be processed. Verb 32, enter. And now key verb 81, enter. And we'll get a CSM state vector update with that. Now we can key verb 57, enter. And now with this counts as our second mark. It will not make an error calculation, but we need to do these a minute apart now. So ready? Everything's lined up pretty good. And we'll take the mark. Mark, start the clock. And I'll be back with you at our second mark. Or rather, I'm just gonna mute my microphone at the second mark, get a little bit of water, and I'll unmute at the second mark. Okay, 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. You can just kind of see the outline there, and if you can't on YouTube, I apologize. YouTube compression, but you could just make it out. Proceed on that, and that's going to be the huge difference mark on that. So it's the rest of our marks should converge down to near 0. This is why you need to wait a minute in between each mark. It takes quite some time for the computer to converge that data. And if you just keep taking marks one after the other, it's not going to be good. Another 15 seconds down to the next mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. We'll wait for the mark to process and get our computation. Here we go. It's converged all the way down on the first mark. That's great. Here we go. 30 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 10 seconds, my bad. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here's our last mark. It's good. And we will reset our timer. That's our last mark. Accept the mark sequence. And go CMC. Here we go. Proceed. Make sure that that brings us right in. It brings us very close. Now we can sync the timer. So stop, reset. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. Count up. Start. And that's good. We're going to wait for plus 11 minutes, and we'll just verify that this is holding very nicely. And to that, it's holding good enough. So we'll bring us down to 11 minutes. Elapsed time. And the reason we start this timer is because after the next burn, this timer is reset. And all our times are based on time from TPI right now, so that basement timer there is going to help us a lot. Here we go. 4, 3, 2, 1, and proceed for that computation. Delta V is calculating. Here we go. As we can see, pretty small burn overall. A bit larger they're a bit larger than an MCC I would like, but it is not that big of a problem. And now we will sync our timer. 1 minute, 30 seconds. And that's pretty close. Proceed. 41. Enter. Now take rotational direct on, translation on. And once we get our 5018, we're actually going to go CMC hold and press the enter key. So CMC hold and bypass the auto maneuver.
Translation.
Go to translation. And we're going to, the flight plan says to null this down to 1 foot per second. I highly, highly recommend that you actually null these down to 0 feet per second as best you can. Because this error will grow over time as we approach the object. So here we go. Wait for the 0 mark, and you can begin your burn.
Rotation.
14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. We're thrusting aft this time. And now we'll go right and down. A little forward. A little to the right. A little bit down. A little forward. A little right. A little bit up. A little forward. And that's pretty much as close as you can get it. It's going to flicker a lot, and that's good enough. Proceed. 35. Enter. Go CMC back to auto. Bypass this auto maneuver. And now we're going to do our mark sequence. Only 2 marks here. So verb 57, enter. Bring this to the target. Here comes the first mark. Mark. And here comes the second mark. Mark. Proceed. Now, me personally, I'm actually going to make one more mark to see if that has actually successfully converged. Because we've got a little bit of time. We've got another minute. So I'm going to make this next mark. Mark. And that mark has successfully converged. So with that, we will proceed to accept the mark sequence. Proceed again. And now we just need to wait for 18 minutes up here. This is why we have it. It's a very good thing to have. Always remember, you have lots of clocks. You're definitely going to need them. Here's 18 minutes. Proceed. This is going to calculate our next delta V. Time skip a little bit ahead. And here it is. It's a little bigger than I would like, but it's smaller than the last burn. That's what really counts. Clocks are synced. Proceed. 41. Enter. Same procedure as before. Go CMC hold as soon as we get to 5018. And bypass the auto maneuver. 5018's in. Hold and bypass.
Rotation. Translation.
We're still on translation. That's good. We can bring this down now. 35 seconds. Disky blanks. And these will become live. 30 seconds are up. And they're live. Bring it down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Okay, and we'll bring it down a little and to the left a little. Spend your time with this one, because this one's really important. Get it as best as you can. In fact, if you really want to, have it hold attitude a little better. I think that's pretty much as good as we're going to get it overall. These will keep flickering around, but that's pretty much good. So at this point, come back to CMC. Now we'll go proceed, 00, enter. And at this point, we are terminal phase final. So now we must acquire the S4B in the optics. Let's take a look at our fuels. Are looking a little lower than I would like, but it's doable for the rest of the mission so far. Here's the S4B. We're in, go SCS, and hold the attitude. At this point, you're going to key verb 37, enter, 47, enter. Verb 83, enter. Again, the top is the range, the middle is the range rate, and the bottom is theta. Theta is not particularly important, but the top we can see we are 2.22 nautical miles out. We are 30.1 feet per second approaching, or closing, told by this minus key. And now we need to follow the braking gates. So at 1 nautical mile, we need to do some braking. But until then, we're going to make small corrections to translation. And we're just going to try and keep that S4B stable. Now, if you're pretty impatient like me with this sort of stuff, it is a little tedious. You can do this with time skip a little bit, and you could say, wow, we're drifting up a little bit and a lot to the left. Time skip, a little more to the left. We could see a little more up, a little more left. You can do this under time skip. And basically, once it stops drifting, you know you're pretty good. So we can see we've canceled out the leftness pretty good, but when we try to cancel out the up, we get a lot to the left. Burn both at the same time. Coming up on 1 nautical mile. Up and to the left. Small corrections here. We can see we're just basically flicking the RCS, going under time acceleration, and seeing if it stops drifting. When it stops drifting, we're pretty much going to stop making corrections there. Let's see, drifting down now. But we are less than 1 nautical mile, so we'll brake now. And we do have to keep in mind that this display is moving pretty slowly right now. We could go bit rate high and see if we can speed it up a little bit, but I doubt we will. Once we're down to 0.5, we need to close at 15 feet per second. So we can see we're pretty stable, a little bit down. Point 0.5, slow down. Once we get down to 0.25, we need to close at 10 feet per second. Here we go. Slow down. Slow down a little more. There we go. And now we can see we have pretty much achieved rendezvous. You can get the display off. We know where the S4V is, and it causes a little bit of lighting glitches, but that's it. And there you are. We can close a little more. Now we can begin station keeping. And you can see we're pretty much on the line at 75%. Let's go CMC free real quick.
Rotation.
Let's just get a look inside the adapter here.
Translation.
And there we are. That's it. We are successfully rendezvoused. Proceed. Proceed. 00. Enter. And that's going to go right to our state vector. It's beautiful, isn't it? All right, at this point, we're going to do our separation, which is done on, looks like RCS, minus X thrusters, for 2 delta V. So I'll perform this separation and then end it there. And after that, we're going to do a little bit more P20 tests, some attitude hold tests, different tests that we need to do, but I think you guys can follow those on your own. The next tutorial is probably going to be a power down of the guidance. So let's do that phasing now. We'll set the delta V in, which is minus 2 plus 2. It's good enough for the rest of the mission. It's actually right on, which is scary, but we got her. CMC mode free, CDC direct on. TIG counting up. 3 minutes, 20 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's good. Verb 37, enter, 00, enter, CMC, auto. Verb 49, enter, reset. Verb 25, enter, plus 35900, enter, plus 31100, enter, plus 35900, enter, proceed, proceed. Go back to inertial guidance. Make sure we don't smack into the thing. Looking good. Just gonna kiss the engine a little bit there. All right, we're in attitude.
Rotation. Translation.
On translation. Really nervous about smacking into that thing, but it looks good so far. 1 minute. Verb 37, enter. 47, enter.
Rotation. Translation.
Bring us down to 35. There we go, 30 seconds. Normal. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Proceed. 0, 0. Enter. Standby off. Translation off. Direct off.
Rotation.
And that's it. For the rest of the mission, we're probably going to hold that to save on a little bit of RCS fuel. All right, it's looking good. We've separated, drifting away. With our state vectors intact, we did not accidentally translate or try to rotate while on translation. Everything's looking good. That's really good. PCM bit rate low, I forgot about that. Never time skip times 100. You can see that lag is pretty bad. And we'll drift away. Honestly, we don't really need to hold a roll much, but we will anyways. So, we're clear of the S4B. And that is how you rendezvous and separate. Thanks for watching.